Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Overflow Method podcast. My name is Arij. If you're new, I am a little displaced this week because we had a ice storm in the town that I live in, and that has resulted in a power outage that has lasted almost a week. We luckily have this place in Toronto to come and be in, which is just so helpful. We did spend about a day in a house without electricity or heat, and it was quite difficult to operate, let alone keep up with all of the things that Garrett and I have going on. So, luckily, we were able to come to Toronto and be here, but as of right now, it's been almost a week since the power first went out, and our home in that town still doesn't have electricity. I've got this father mug. Take it as a sign. But yeah, it kind of lined up perfectly though, because this week's podcast was an integration episode anyway. Like, I wasn't really planning to dump a lot of information on you, and I was just going to kind of process and speak through some of what has already come up. But I don't even think I need to do that. I think the purpose of this episode is really just to remind ourselves of the importance of integration time, of processing time, when it comes to people like us who really enjoy the thrill of self-expansion and growth and hitting better milestones and moving forward. And when we really enjoy the sensation of forward movement, sometimes we can forget the value in stillness and in pausing and in reflecting and reorienting if we need to. The reason I knew that I needed an integration episode, even before the ice storm and all the stuff that came along with that, which, by the way, I spoke about more in depth in my membership space, which is called the Golden Age Frequency, which I launched last week, I'm pretty sure. The details are in the description. I talked more in depth about what happened and the types of things that I was processing from that experience and the lessons that I've learned and the wisdom that I pulled from that mildly traumatic experience. But beyond that really intense emotional experience that I went through, I was already planning a integration call because when I looked at the structures that I've set up in my business and my creation process, there's like certain things that I do every week, right? There's like a podcast that I post, and then there's clips that I make, and then a Substack article, and there's like all these things that I really enjoy keeping up with every week, because as much as I have fought external consistency in the past, I think there is a good balance, because when it comes to serving others, if you are just kind of self-expressing for yourself, then you really don't need to worry about consistency like at all. Just go with the flow of your own rhythm. But if you have any intention to serve others or to be there for others in any sort of way, then external consistency is important, because it allows you to create a trust with your audience, with the people that you are speaking to, the people that you are working for and doing all of this for. When you are able to show up every week, and it's like, you don't want to ghost your audience, right? And like business specifically, it is service oriented, right? Like, there's a difference between just being an artist and then also having a business. Like, the business aspect comes in when you commit to wanting to serve others, when you commit to wanting to provide value to others. So if you are cultivating a business and you are promising to provide value to others, if you have a hard moment or you have something come up, you can't just kind of like ghost people. I mean, you can, but that might also lead to inconsistent results. It's like the energy that you put out is energy you get back. What's really important within the Overflow Method is curating systems and schedules for ourselves that are adaptable and flexible. Because yes, like I just said, structure and consistency at some degree is super useful and necessary when it comes to service-oriented work. But at the same time, life happens, and sometimes you just get bombarded with events that take a lot of energy from you, and so you can't realistically show up the same week after week after week. And so how do you balance that? And I think that's where the concept of like integration weeks, this will look different based on what you're doing. But for podcasts, I really have this intention of whenever I feel like I'm falling behind on my weekly schedule, like when there's tasks that are piling up, I'll schedule in an integration episode. So even before the ice storm, like I was saying, I already was falling behind on, like there was so much going on, like I was already falling behind on creating the clips for the previous 2 episodes, and then I was already falling behind on creating the blog post. And so it's like I had these tasks set up and scheduled, but I was falling behind. And so instead of doing one of 2 things, one like pushing through and forcing myself through it and potentially harming my body in the process, instead of doing that, or instead of doing that, or instead of just letting go completely and not doing anything, I found a middle ground, and that was an integration call. So with a call like this, like I don't need to create clips, like I don't need to make a whole Substack post about it, because it's not an information dense episode. It's just I'm still here, I'm still showing up, I'm still pouring in to you, but at the same time I'm doing it in a way that also honors my energy and my current experience and where I'm at right now. I'm not over giving. I'm like giving at the exact right amount that makes sense for me right now, because when we do our work from this method of overflow and when we create our legacies from this place, doing this work or whatever the creative work that we have is, doing it is also nourishing to us. So even though I feel like I'm emotionally processing a lot still, and there's kind of like a heaviness in my reality right now that I'm kind of swimming through, and I feel like a little bit more weighed down than usual, showing up to record this and post this, it lifts me up because it keeps me stabilized in my vision. In the past, I would either, like I said, force myself to, like maybe this week, I would force myself to do my health episode. Or the other flip side was I would just like drop everything and like just drop all the momentum that I had going. And then that would lead to like who knows how long of a break. And then I would come back, but by then, people who are watching me might have already lost that trust and that sense of reliability that they feel, you know? So yeah, I guess the main message, the main takeaway of this episode is when you are designing the consistency structure of your creative work, of your outward service, consider how to do it in a way that allows you to be adaptable, because we want to have structure, but we want to be able to flow within that structure. We want to be able to have flexibility within that structure so that it doesn't require us to show up at the same 100% level every single time. Create the container to show up, but allow yourself to show up sometimes at 100% when you have the energy to do so, when everything lines up for you to do so, but also let yourself show up at the 20%. Because really what I've been learning is the value of momentum, and how as you keep showing up to the things that you care about, there's this like feeling of forward momentum that starts building up. And the more that you show up, and the more that, for me, like the more that I record, the more that I put out there, the more that sense of momentum grows. And if I drop everything, the momentum will dissolve, and it'll feel like I have to like muster up the energy to like initiate everything. Whereas once that momentum builds up to a certain point, you almost feel like you're being carried. And I think that's why like I've done this podcast, I've done 4 episodes before today, and there is a level of momentum that has built up where it wasn't really, even though I'm like dealing with all this stuff right now, it wasn't really that difficult to set up this camera and start speaking, because I do feel like a level of momentum is carrying me. And at this point, like when we talk about success feeling as good as it looks, like it's not just about the feelings you get when you are basking in the rewards of your efforts, it's also the feelings that you feel while you're in the building process and while you are actually doing the work and exerting your energy outwards. How can you create an environment for yourself and a context for yourself where you feel free to show up in a way that really suits your energy levels in that moment, in that time, in that space. Like, it honors everything else that you're experiencing through your life. Oftentimes when we think of work or business, we see it so segregated from our regular life. That's what I find can create a lot of imbalances between like work and self-care. But what happens when you allow your business work and your life's work literally to be fully integrated? Like, if you have an ice storm and a super intense experience, how can you show up for your work that week in a way that honors that, in a way that acknowledges what else is going on, in a way that doesn't ignore what else is going on, but integrates it? Everything is connected. You know, like the work that I'm doing in this podcast is connected to the experiences and the learnings that I learned through that ice storm experience. It's also related to the experiences and the learnings that I'm experiencing right now as we move forward on finding, like, buying a house, and that whole process is in my life. Like, everything that is happening that I am engaging with in my life, it's all connected and it's all highlighting similar themes. You just have to be attuned to it. And when you do attune yourself and like adjust your consciousness to be able to see the patterns and the similarities that are showing up in your life, that really helps you integrate everything into each other. You start connecting the dots and you start realizing that everything's kind of meant to be happening as it's happening, and you start dissolving the resistance that you feel. And as you dissolve the resistance that you feel to life and to your experience and everything that's going on, the more you experience like a harmonious flow. So, yes, that is it. That's it for today's podcast episode. Thank you for listening. I do have last month, I had this goal at the beginning of the month to post paid offerings again, getting a product and service suite up and running so that people could opt in if they felt like it. Honestly thought I was only gonna post like one offering, like one digital product or something, and leave it at that. But what ended up coming through, it was like multiple things. And so now I have this offer suite. It's just like, I'm so proud that I was able to like channel that all through. So if you're interested in going deeper with me and like exploring my paid offerings, I first of all like have like a complimentary group coaching program to this podcast, which is called the Overflow Method group coaching program. So that is an 8-week experience, and we just had our first call yesterday. It's still going to be open for enrollment even when calls have been done. If you join like halfway through, for example, you'll get recordings of all the calls that you've missed, and then you'll get to join the live calls in the future and like the group chat and everything. And the way that I'm making this fair is that every time a call happens, like the price of the group program decreases. So this program, before any calls happened, it was at $2,000. Yesterday we had call 1, so then I decreased the price to $1,750 to just like honor the experience. So there's a lot of flexibility with that if you're interested in that. The purpose of the group coaching program is like, the Overflow Method is about like giving you information, and then the Overflow coaching program is about helping you apply those teachings into your personal life and like really help like carrying you through the process of aligning your personal life with the Overflow Method framework. So that's like my highest tier offering. And then I also have a membership space, the Golden Age Frequency membership. That is a lower tier offering. It's like currently $23 a month, and I'm going to raise it to $50 at some point when I get the intuitive hit to do so. And that space is for anyone who wants to have an inside look at my life and everything that I'm experiencing and how I utilize the Golden Age frequency, which is like a state of mind. The Golden Age is less of a destination and it's more of a state of mind. The Golden Age frequency membership is a place where I share quotes, other videos, voice notes, just whatever comes to me, writings, and I give you more of an inner look in how that energy works in my personal life with like very personal examples, information that I wouldn't share publicly on my social media platforms, but because it's within private space, it feels more comfortable to share more detailed things about my life and what I'm experiencing. So there's that. By the way, all of the details for all of these products are on their associated sales pages. So if you need like full details, go definitely read through those. But yeah, I've got like a seasonal living life alignment guide that helps you sync your day-to-day planning with the moon cycles, with the outer seasons, and with your menstrual cycle and your inner seasons. So that is very paradigm shifting. And then I have an online business starter guide, which is for anyone who is wanting to start making money through their creative gifts online, but are a little bit intimidated by the tech of it all, setting up the back end infrastructure. That's a really great starting place. So, yeah, that's it. Thank you for listening today. Thank you for being here. And I'll see you next week. Bye.